Hi, Mrs. Brown here. I want to talk to you a little bit about ancient China and the dynastic cycle. So basically, the way that Chinese emperors and rulers justified the fact that they were in charge was through something called the mandate of heaven. So the mandate of heaven, the idea behind that is that the ruler of China was divinely appointed by the gods to be the ruler. And assuming he was doing a good job, he would possess the mandate of heaven, and his house, his dynasty would possess the mandate of heaven. And so the idea was that dynasty, having been given that blessing by the gods to be the ruler, would bring peace and prosperity to the people of China. And so often we see this in the beginning of a dynasty where we see peace coming and infrastructure being rebuilt, and peasants are pretty much appeased and happy, and people feel protected, and there's not a lot of hardship. It's kind of this honeymoon period, this new dynasty honeymoon period. And the Chinese people said that when China was prosperous and things were going well, that the ruler possessed the mandate of heaven, and they were supposed to be the ruler at that time. Well, oftentimes what we see is as time goes on with any ruler, let alone an entire dynasty, people sometimes start to be not as thrilled with what's going on. And so they may decide that they are not happy. So we might see rebellions. We might see people complaining about taxation, invaders coming in, or people feeling like they're not protected. Infrastructure might decay, or people might feel like they're being treated unfairly. These are natural problems that happen when you have a ruler for a long period of time. Oftentimes people want to change. But what happened was in ancient China, when there were any sort of problems, such as floods or earthquakes or other natural disasters, or peasants revolting, or any sort of rebellion or invasion, the Chinese people would take this as evidence. They would take this as evidence that that ruler and that current dynasty had lost the mandate of heaven, and that they were no longer blessed by the gods, and that they should have a new ruler and a new dynasty. And so what we see is with the changing of power from one dynasty to the next in ancient China, they used the mandate of heaven, gain and loss of the mandate of heaven, to justify this change of power. And we call this the dynastic cycle, because in ancient China, we did the dynasty song, and we did, you saw all those different dynasties. There were definite transitions and periods of change of the seat of power from one ruling family to another. And so we see with that the change of the possession of the mandate of heaven, and that's what the Chinese people believed. Okay?